Well, like all things in my life, I kind of build outside the block. So Ubby had come to me, and he's somebody I'd known their whole lives. Their families are like cousins to me. And he sent me a picture of a peacock and a rafter of wild turkeys and said, I have a crazy story to tell you. I want you to write the book. And I was working on a TED Talk at the time. And I was like, sure, eventually, maybe, but like not right now. I need to focus on my TED Talk. And then magically, my TED Talk got moved from September to February. And I was kind of in the zone. So I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's talk about it. And Abby told me the story of this peacock that they had in an enclosure. And in the ranch that he and Barry have, they have lots of different animals. And this particular peacock escaped its enclosure, and it was nowhere to be found. And a year later, it gets caught on a trail cam looking like it's leading a pack of wild turkeys. So these guys genuinely had a cool story concept. And they're like, let's write this story. So then I started to think about, okay, well, where do you begin with a story? And research, right? So I started to do research. And it turns out that peacocks, obviously, not only do they have these beautiful feathers, but their plume is functional in lots of different ways, and it makes sounds. And they also kind of make sounds or music. So I went over to do some research on wild turkeys, and crazy enough, they make distinct sounds, including cut, gobble, kiki, and yelp, who right away I'm like, these are the characters in this story, and they're going to be And then I was thinking through the story a little bit, and I had to come up with the problem. And I thought, well, what would happen if a peacock's plume was imperfect? And instead of being able to wear it with pride, like most peacocks are known for, it was ashamed. And so the story started to evolve. And then I was telling my friend about the story, because I always start with alliteration, and his name was actually Pete when I started, Pete the Peacock. And as I started to write it, I was telling her the story. And I'm like, yeah, and he wore his feathers across his chest, kind of like a guitar strap, and he strummed them. And I'm like, oh my God, his name is Strum. And I pulled over in the background and I finished the whole story. And being able to write a story that has music in it, but also that has themes like belonging and self-acceptance is so in line with pretty much everything I've ever done in my 25 years of education. So it felt really right and special.